Hey guys, it's Leo Stargazer. I'm here today with a reading inspired by Mercury moving into Scorpio. As Mercury moves into Scorpio, we are starting a journey of deep insight, deep intellectual concentration, major focus. I think focus is kind of the key word I'm seeing right now, especially with Mercury moving into Scorpio. So with that in mind, I wanted to choose a 3-card spread today that will help us get a little bit of a clearer picture on maybe what we should be focusing on, what Mercury in Scorpio wants us to focus on. The first card is what to engage with. So where we should be focusing our attention, where that focus should be oriented towards, or at least which direction it should be. The second card is what to avoid. So maybe what we shouldn't be focusing so much of our attention on as Mercury is in Scorpio. And then finally, what will bring me joy? So what should we focus on? What should we not focus on? And what will bring us joy? I wanted to finish off with a joy card to kind of give us an idea of if what we are focusing on is troubling or difficult, or if it's hard to avoid what we're not supposed to be focusing on. I want the joy card to step in to show us where we can find happiness and joy, even in a time of really intense focus. Mercury in Scorpio is going to help you concentrate. It's going to help you intellectualize some pretty intense, passionate thinking. So hopefully this spread can help. So I'm going to shuffle really quickly, give us a chance to bring everything back in, center on ourselves, think about our intellect, value that. But above all, just bring yourself to a center and let's begin our drawing. Okay. The first card is what we should focus on. The Prince of Wands. Okay. What should we avoid? The 10 of Chalices. And what's going to bring us joy as Mercury is in Scorpio? The Prince of Chalices. Okay, so I was hoping for some concise and clear focus, and we got that, but there's also some confusion here. I almost feel like avoidance and joy positions, I almost feel like those cards for the quote-unquote best possible outcome should be reversed, like in each other's positions, but they aren't, and that's how it showed up. So let's start at the beginning though. I think the most important, or at least the most Mercury part of this spread, is the position of focus. What should we be focused on? We got the Prince of Wands. Also, if you look at the spread, before we get too deep into the Prince of Wands, it's 2 princes, so there are 2 princes that showed up. And right in between them is the 10 of Cups. I think there's some significance there. But starting where we began with the Prince of Wands. This is showing me that this era of intense focus, Mercury's journey through Scorpio, is going to be imbued with and blessed with a fire and a passion and a focused energy forward. Since this is more of an advice position, what should we focus on? I think it's showing that we should focus on adventuring forth. We should focus on the thinking and the parts of our life that really propel us. There's a sense of speed here. There's a sense of action and activity. There really is, with the Prince of Wands, this sense that we are lit up and we should focus on what makes us the most passionate, intellectually passionate, pursuits that light us up from the inside, pursuits that drive us forward. I think that makes a lot of sense. What I'm seeing here is that Mercury is going to be very activating for us intellectually, which is really exciting. The second position was what to avoid. So what not to focus on so much, and it's the 10 of Chalices, which is a gorgeous card. So to not focus on that seems counterintuitive. However, I think the key here, especially in juxtaposition with the Prince of Wands, is that there's not going to be a sense of completion from Mercury and Scorpio. Our thoughts and our focus is going to be active and speedy and forwardly mobile and forwardly directional. So there's not really a call for a focus on finality, a focus on celebrating accomplishments or reaching a conclusion. In fact, according to this spread, we should probably avoid focusing on finality, on conclusive stuff. I don't think this means to not focus on joy and love and beauty, and we'll get to the joy card in a second, but I really think it means that there's not going to be this sense of finality for this transit, so I don't think we need to focus too much on that. We shouldn't waste our time on focusing on the end. We need to really spend our time focusing on the beginning, on the action, on the forwardness of our thinking. Really put thought into action is kind of what the first two cards are saying. Don't focus too much on the final element, don't focus on the place you want to be. Focus on the drive to get there. I think that's really what we see so far. So that makes sense. Would we love to see the 10 of Chalices in the joy position? Probably, but we didn't. We got the Prince of Chalices in the joy position. And that's really interesting because the Prince of Chalices is kind of a turbulent play on opposites. He is outwardly serene, but inside he's kind of volatile and turbulent. There's this idea that he's potentially brooding, but seems really peaceful on the outside. So how does this translate into joy? How we can find joy while Mercury is in Scorpio? I think it ties back into the Prince of Wands. Getting two princes here, there's definitely a focus on action. There's definitely a focus on, if not literal action, then the idea of action, certainly. Contemplating action, thinking about action. I think the Prince of Wands, as our focus, is pure action. He is directionality. The Prince of Chalices, as our joy card, where we should focus on joy, how we can find joy. I think it's implying that showing up here, it's implying that while in avoidance, we got the 10 of Chalices, so maybe even though Scorpio is a water sign, maybe there's more fire energy that's key. I think the Prince of Chalices shows up to say, yes, but you can still find joy in the water side of this transit. Meaning, there is still joy in these and almost passion in this transit. There's this idea that we need to balance out some of this super intensive, forward thrusting action adventure energy that the Prince of Wands brings, that our focus should bring, with a deeper, more contemplative, more inwardly focused pleasure. So if we are focused on how we move forward in the outside world, how we take action and make things happen, if that should be our focus, the Prince of Chalices shows up in joy to say the inner journey is what's pleasurable. How we will balance all of this frenzy outside is with the water energy of the Prince. The Prince is a combination of water and air, so Mercury has this very air quality. So I think he's the perfect combination here for us. And I think what we need to do is we really need to balance out anytime we are getting overwhelmed during Mercury's transit through Scorpio, anytime that this frenzied activity from the Prince brings up, the Prince of Wands, brings us to a place of maybe being burnt out, we need to turn inward. Yes, maybe inside there's some volatility, maybe inside there's kind of a storm brewing kind of feeling, We need to tap into that. We need to find pleasure in that kind of intense passion. That's a very Scorpio thing. But because it's Mercury, we also need to maintain this sense of intellectual prowess, this sense of intellectual control. I think it's a way for us, I think the Prince of Chalices is a way for us to enjoy the intense emotional part of Scorpio without focusing too much on the 10 of Chalices completion of that journey. Meaning, and we'll start from the beginning here, the Prince of Wands wants us to take action with Mercury. We need to use thoughts, we need to use communication, we need to use study, we need to use an intense passion and focus for all of those things to push projects forward, to push ourselves forward. We don't need to focus on the end, we need to focus on the beginning. We don't need to focus on completion, we need to focus on action and directionality. But to balance all of that, we need to find pleasure and joy in the inner journey, in our inner world, even if it's turbulent. We need to find pleasure riding those waves. As this transit progresses, this will make more sense. I think we'll figure out how the Prince of Chalices is showing up inside for us. If it is a little turbulent, if it's hard to deal with kind of some of those deeper emotions and it's not really making you feel pleasurable or giving you pleasure, then turn back to action. Turn back to fire, turn back to this energized intellectual pursuit. And then if that gets to be too much, balance that out with the Prince of Chalices. Balance out that frenzy and that fire with a little bit of water. It's the balance of fire and water with air that I think is the key focus here. Mercury wants us to engage and move forward. Mercury wants us to focus on the beginnings and the action part of that journey. But because it's in Scorpio, we also need to and are called to focus on deep emotional intensity as well. So balanced focus is key. Move forward, be directional, be smart about that. But don't just look outward, also look inward. Enjoy both sides of the journey, and then maybe we can move towards completion and celebration and all of the fruits of our labor, all of the fruits of this intellectual journey, inward and outward. Maybe after we get through this, after we do what we need to do here, maybe then the 10 of Chalices can come back and we can come back to the 10 of Chalices and enjoy that celebration. But for now, let's enjoy this part of the journey. I'm excited. I'll see you next time.